Stranger Things Season 4 Volume 2 ended with many questions still lingering. Where and what exactly has happened to Max? How can Vecna and the Mind Flayer be defeated? And what will happen to Hawkins now that the Upside Down is spilling into the real world? Well, in the 5th and final season of Stranger Things, we're hopefully going to be getting answers to all of our big questions, and I thought it would be a good idea to discuss some of them in this video. But before I get into it, if you want to see more videos on TV shows like Stranger Things, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into my predictions for Stranger Things Season 5. So at the end of Stranger Things Season 4, the battle for Hawkins and apparently the rest of the world is about to take centre stage. The long-length finale of Season 4 saw the main characters reunite and temporarily defeat Vecna, but it came with a cost. In the final 2 episodes, Max aimed to bait Vecna, while Robin, Steve and Nancy would kill him, hanging distracted in the Upside Down. And while that was happening, Dustin and Eddie distracted the demo bats to give the rest of them enough time to defeat Vecna. But with all the stakes, things were bound to go wrong in big ways. This is because although 11 found a way to piggyback into Max's mind so that she could take on Vecna herself, she wasn't able to completely save Max, nor the eventual spreading of the Upside Down into Hawkins. Vecna took enough of Max to open the 4th and final gate, bringing the Upside Down to Hawkins, even if it meant he was heavily injured in the process. Max's heart stopped to complete the 4th gate, and while 11 found a way to just about revive her, she now remains in a coma with her consciousness buried. So going into Season 5, Vecna definitely has the advantage, and the rest of them will have to put up a good fight, especially after the sacrifice of Eddie in giving them time. So the first question surrounds what happens to Hawkins now that it is full of the particulates found in the Upside Down. The hellish world has been unleashed upon Hawkins, and we all want to know how this will develop at the start of the final season. Will there be an all-out war between the citizens of Hawkins and the creatures from the Upside Down? What will be left of the town following these portals opening up? Is there a way of turning back the clock or undoing what happened? And what is Vecna's overall plan? We now know that 11 and the kids are prepared to fight off the evil that Elle helped create, but are they ready for this to potentially spread further? Well, I think Season 5 may be the first time we see no big time jump, because that final shot of the spreading Upside Down does suggest that Hawkins is transforming extremely quickly. I think we will pick right up from where Season 4 left us, and we'll be seeing the chaos that is unleashed on the town. I think we'll see the other citizens of Hawkins start to realise what has been hiding beneath for so long, and the kids will have to convince them to fight and maybe even teach them how to ward these monsters off. It seems like the next logical step after how quickly the Upside Down is spreading, and how they will have to adapt very quickly to this situation. I predict we're going to see it spread even more and get to a point where the people of Hawkins will have to listen to the kids and understand what the Upside Down is and how to stop what lies within. And speaking of what lies within, this is where we come to the 2 central villains of the final season and what we might see go down between them and our main characters. In Season 4, we learnt how Vecna became the wizard he is, following 11 originally sending him into the parallel dimension after the massacre at the Hawkins lab. A world populated by monsters, but one that would only become worse once Vecna came across a swarm form of particles, soon to be the Mind Flayer. It went into Vecna and gave him the power to lead the creatures in that universe. So we are left with the question of whether he or the Mind Flayer are the big bad, especially after Dustin suggested that he could be the Mind Flayer's general. I'm guessing we'll find this out in season 5, but right now, I think it's safe to say that both the Mind Flayer and Vecna are going to be the two central villains going forward. Vecna will still be the focus because thanks to Will's earlier connection with the Mind Flayer, who was operated by Vecna, he can still feel the villain's presence. Will knows that despite the burns he faced, Vecna will be back to fight, and like I said before, I think it will be the combined weight of him and the Mind Flayer the second time around. It would raise the threat and truly put our central characters in a very fatal position. And coming back to the Mind Flayer, the season 4 finale confirmed that the swirling particles which Joyce and Hopper found in Russia were essentially Mind Flayer particles. The Russians were keeping it there and likely performing experiments, but when they returned to the prison to destroy the particles, everything had escaped and we only saw Murray kill the Demogorgons. They were able to help the kids, but the Mind Flayer particles are still missing. And with Murray, Yuri and Enzo not seen back in the States, what we might see in season 5 is them staying there to track down and destroy the missing particles. If they do, then maybe it could give everyone back in Hawkins the advantage to defeat the Mind Flayer and then fight Vecna. We'll have to see, but I do think that this will play a part in the final season, as it felt far too abrupt for them to just forget about. And what we know is that all the main characters will be fighting a combined threat of Vecna and the Mind Flayer to differing degrees. But coming now to the next question left by the season 4 finale, we're still wondering what happened to Max after the brutal consequences in the battle we saw unfold with Vecna. We know that Max tried to stay in her safe memories, and while she even got help from 11, it wasn't enough in the end. Vecna's curse resulted in her having broken arms, broken legs, and she might also be permanently blind. Her heart stopped for a brief period of time, and while 11 was able to bring her back to life, it remains to be seen what will happen to her next season. At the very end of the finale, she's in a coma with Lucas staying by her side, meaning that Max's fate is up for questioning. Max's mind was blank when 11 tried to wake her up in hospital, and I think that this could mean a number of things. Max might be buried deep in one of her subconscious memories, or Vecna might still have control over her. But with Max having her mind entered by two very powerful characters, when she wakes up, she might not be the same Max she was. My prediction is that maybe the boost which 11 gave her results in Max also having some sort of power to awaken from this mind prison. Yes, she will be physically damaged in the real world, but mentally I think she will have new powers to confront Vecna in season 5. I think when she does build the strength to come back and discovers her own powers, then I can see the combined battle of her and 11 taking on Vecna for the revenge of what happened in season 4. Again, I predict 11 would be the one physically confronting Vecna, but Max would be helping using her new mind powers. Might be a bit of a reach, but there's a reason she's still alive, and it will likely be an important one come next season. Overall, I think we're going to see different groups come together and devise a plan to take down the different villains and elements left to defeat. Whether it be Max and 11 versus Vecna, Will and the other kids fighting off the Mind Flayer, or Murray, Yuri and Enzo tracking down the particles in Russia. They'd all come together in the end to defeat Vecna and the Mind Flayer, but there would also be some final sacrifices that would take place too. We'll soon find out if that is the case, but this is where I now come to my predictions on who I think might die in the battle for Hawkins. So by the time we reach the conclusion of Stranger Things, there's bound to be a few deaths in the process, and not just side characters like we've seen bite the dust in the seasons so far. They very much hint in the finale of season 4 that the fight to come will result in them having to lose some people around them, and it will be intriguing to see which characters make the sacrifice come the end. The first character I think will die in Season 5 is Steve Harrington, and I think after having all the hints that he would go this season, the Duffer Brothers would want to hang on to him so that when he does go, it will hopefully be with a big dramatic and emotional payoff. We've seen a lot of him and Nancy reconnecting this season, and in metaphorically relating to Season 1, I think in Season 5, we might see Steve sacrificing himself to save Nancy, Jonathan, and the other kids fighting the Mind Flayer. Of course, it could go the other way and instead be Jonathan sacrificing himself to save Nancy, Steve, and his younger brother, but I think that with the focus on Steve and Nancy in Season 4, it would be a greater emotional punch if he helped to save the day and died doing so. So that's my first death prediction. The other major death that I can see being of a meaningful conclusion here is probably the death of Eleven. While I think that Max and Eleven would be the ones trying to take down Vecna, I do think that Max will be using her new mind powers to battle him, but when it comes to the physical side of the battle, it's likely that Eleven will be doing that. And because she's the one who originally opened the gate to the Upside Down, it would only make sense that she'd sacrifice herself to defeat Vecna and prevent Hawkins from being completely consumed. So I think in defeating Vecna, Eleven will be the big ending sacrifice, and in defeating the Mind Flayer, Steve will be the sacrifice there. There will be loss like the show has always touched on, but it will be the kids and the rest of Hawkins coming together to defeat this evil, resulting in a new sense of life for the town. Hawkins has gotten worse over the years with the Upside Down bringing about devastating deaths and events, so it would make sense that the ending of Stranger Things would showcase the message of newly found hope for the town, thanks to the help and persistence of the characters we followed throughout all the seasons. It would also end with them being known as heroes for what they did and sacrificed. They'd have to further fight past the FBI and all the people that have been after them, but this final battle would be the proof that they have done what they have to help the people they care about and the people of Hawkins. In a few years, we'll know exactly what the Duffer Brothers have in store for us, but I expect a final season of battle and emotional payoff to really end this show in a perfect way. But they were my thoughts and predictions for Stranger Things Season 5. There are of course many other smaller questions that need to be answered in the final season, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Duffer Brothers will handle all of the answers. Questions like Will telling Mike about his feelings, and the reaction of other characters in Hawkins to the Upside Down. They are definitely going to be raising the stakes and bringing epic conclusions to the show, and while we're probably going to have to wait a few years to see how they do it, hopefully it will all be worth the wait. I quite enjoyed this new season, and I thought it was definitely the best since Season 1, and apart from the last episode where certain conveniences were made, I really liked the sense of horror and mystery that Season 4 brought back to this show. So I'm confident that Season 5 can bring all the emotional payoff that we all want to see. But let me know down below in the comment section what your predictions and theories are surrounding the final season of Stranger Things, alongside what your thoughts were on Season 4 Volume 2. For more videos on Stranger Things and other shows like Better Call Saul and Westworld, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.